but not the only one. Welcome back. It's still Hard Facts, 92.3 Nigeria Info. I'm Sam Oracle Chinedu. For this hour, we will be talking about religion. I have a strong feeling that you subscribe to some form of religion. And even if you do not, you very likely know what people are talking about when they have conversations around religion. You see, religion, like love, it has become something kind of hard to define. Why? Because a lot of people use it and then abuse it. So modern day definitions would defy logic and many things. But when we talk about religion, like gender, a person would very likely mention the religious practice that they subscribe to. For example, what's your religion? People say, oh, Christianity, Islam, African traditional religion, Buddhism, Hinduism, and all the isms that there are. And some might say, well, I'm agnostic. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in the existence of a deity. Everybody has a spiritual movement. Everybody has a crusade, something they believe in. And from the beginning of time, man has sought connection with a god. As my people like to say, a chi, right? Something spiritually bigger than you, which you believe is responsible for creation and to a large part inspiration. So you pray to this deity, you worship, you honor, you feel connected, and then you say, this is my religion. In other words, this is my spiritual movement. Now, man has also made some things that are tangible, his religion. For example, you hear some people say, my religion is football. They might not even say it in practice. It might be the religion of a few persons. But what we know is that every religion has the dedication of its followers. Every religion has some misconstruction. It's always misconstrued. There is always something that people don't know enough about the religion. And they say this and say that about your religion, and it brings about controversy and arguments. Say, no, you cannot tell me that God is this. Another person who believes another religion completely will not come from this side and say, no. At the beginning of time, based on the historical evidence, the empirical, this one, man came from monkey. You're like, what? I am a fine boy. When I look at myself, I don't see monkey. Say, no, Sam, you don't understand. Say, I don't want to. Anything that involves me coming from monkey is a concept I don't need to understand. So you will have those kinds of conversations, controversies, and arguments. Because with religion, people believe different things. And someone famously said, religion is the opium of the masses. Yeah. I don't like the quote, but when you see how people treat religion, you have to believe it. There's something intoxicating about it. But my favorite quote, that doesn't have to do with religion, but a belief system, is that you cannot believe in God until you believe in yourself. That one works for me. So with this in mind, let's have this conversation that borders on religion.
Nigeria Info.
Edition. The secretary of the Oyo State branch of the association, Fayemi Fakayode, who made this call in Ibadan, the state capital, further urged the government to include traditional religious knowledge as a subject in primary and secondary school curricula, like Islamic religious knowledge and Christian religious knowledge. Fakayode, in a statement personally signed, stressed the need for proper education to disabuse the minds of the younger generation about Yoruba history and culture. Well, he was speaking about Yoruba, but of course, on a larger scale, talking about other traditional religious practices. He explained that the miseducation of Africans about their origin and culture had led to many wrong perceptions about their traditional religion. So this is the reason why this conversation is happening. Of course, at some point, my question is going to be, what do you think about it? Do you think it should? But there are so many questions to ask between now and when you get to call me. First of all, what do you make of this demand? Does Mr. Let me get his name, Fire Me, have the right or the right standing to make such a request or a demand or proposal? Yes, he does. Yes, he does. You know why? Because he has rights protected by the Constitution. And this is the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. Guaranteed, embedded, protected by Nigeria's Constitution. That means you are free to worship what you want to worship. If you wake up one morning and say, I love the mango tree in front of my house, and this is what I want to bow down to, you're very free. You're free to plant more mango trees. As long as your religion does not abuse human dignity. In other words, the day you worship what you're worshiping and your God say, go and kill somebody, we will catch you and handle you appropriately. So, freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. Just make sure that where your right ends or begins or continues, it does not infringe on the dignity of the next man. Once you can do that, congratulations. So, African traditional religion is asking that, like CRK, which I did in school because I'm a Christian, and IRK, which Muslims must have done in school because they are Muslims, we need TRK, traditional religious knowledge, in schools. Because not all of us are Christians or Muslims. Some of us enter bush and use cowrie. Well, I don't have a lot of knowledge. This is basically a Nollywood-inspired version of what a traditional religion looks and sounds like. Right? So, they are saying we need this. Because the Constitution says we have a right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. And honestly, in Nigeria, the most popular religions, of course, would be Christianity, Islam, and of course, the African traditional religion. The most popular. I'm sure there are many more, but if you're looking at a lot of Nigerians, you ask, what is your religion? And they answer honestly, they will very likely, most of them would give you one of the three. So Fayemi says, we have CRK, we have IRK, give us TRK, traditional religious knowledge. It is not too much to ask. And he made an entire statement. I'm actually thrilled that there's a traditional religion worshippers association. But my question now is, which one would people learn? And this is coming from a position of curiosity. You see, in Christianity and Islam, even though there are many denominations, if you go to Christianity, there's, this type, there's this church, there's this one, there's this. Most of them are governed, guided by the holy text, which is the Bible. Even though you say this one is this type of Christian and this one is that type of Christian, when it comes to where they get inspiration, at least they go to the Bible. Right? Then Islam, you say, we have this, the Sunni Muslims and what was the other one? Anyways, there are different denominations as well, but they read the Quran. So these religions have their holy texts. They have the scripture. If you're now saying, give us TRK, the questions will be, which of the African traditional religions? Because there are plenty. So what scripture, what God, what religion, what people, what form of worship, what day of worship? These are the questions that would need to be answered. This one is a personal question from me. How do we now get experts and lecturers or teachers? Because, of course, CRK and IRK teacher. So for traditional religion now, do we get a chief priest, or are there ways around it? The experts and educators of these subjects. And if it makes its way to tertiary level of education, that means at some point we'll get a professor of traditional religion. I remember a few years ago there was a call, and people still share those opinions to today. There was a call to make political office holders swear, take an oath, take oath of office using traditional religion. Says because if they swear with Amadioha, I will never steal money. You don't need to go far. And people said, okay, fine. But which of the religions? I have many more questions. But now I'd like to talk to you. Traditionalists say they want traditional religious knowledge to be taught in schools, just as CRK and IRK has a stake. What do you think? What do you make of that statement? I have it coming up in 2 minutes, so that means I can take one call between now and then. 0817 923 0002. 0817 923 0003. WhatsApp is 080 903 06 We're live on Facebook and Twitter at Nigeria InfoPH. You can watch as you listen. Most importantly, you need to make your comments heard. Let me take that one call. Hello? Oh my, I've lost that. Hello?
Yeah, hi Sam. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. What's your name?
Yeah, Mufasa on the line.
Mufasa, I don't mean to rush you, but you have a minute.
Okay, let me just try to put my point together in 1 minute.
Try. You can do it.
Quite an interesting topic. I want to say that there's nothing wrong in that kind of advocate.
Okay.
Advocacy. Because your traditional religious practice has to be in tandem with the peculiarity of your area. Like if you are in the north, of course, you have people who are studying Islamic religious study, IROS, and you have CROK in the south and in the west.
Yeah.
But if you want to do traditional religious studies, the traditional whatever that they want to call it,
Okay.
it has to be in tandem with the tradition of that place. Now, in the university, there's what they call religious and cultural studies.
Okay.
Religious and cultural studies. And all these things about tradition is embedded in that course. If you go to the University of Port Harcourt, for instance, you have lecturers in that department who are equally, they are experts in traditional practice. You can equally get teachers from that department to teach students in secondary and primary school.
Okay.
So I do not think it will be difficult to get experts to teach students, at the basic level. So it's a good one.
All right, Mufasa.
If they put it in good perspective.
Thank you very much. I'll take more calls after the break. Please stay with me. still hard facts. 92.3 Nigeria Info. Conversations around religion take center stage for this hour, and we will be on this till 5 p.m. So I'm asking questions. Oh well, before we get to the question part, I need to tell you how we got there. Traditional Religion Worshippers Association urged both federal and state governments to establish schools where traditional religious knowledge would be taught as a subject to impact the younger generation with culture and tradition. The secretary of the Oyo State branch of the association, Fayemi Fakayode, made the call in Ibadan, the state capital, and urged the government to include traditional religious knowledge, TRK, as a subject in primary and secondary school curricula, like Islamic religious knowledge and Christian religious knowledge. I had a couple of questions connected to this, but I'm asking, do you think TRK should be taught in schools just like CRK and IRK? 0817-923-0002. 0817-923-0003. WhatsApp is 080-903-06-416. We're live on Facebook and Twitter at Nigeria Info PH. You can watch as you listen and drop your comments. Good evening, Sam. Karl Marx's definition of religion as being the opium of the masses may be true to the extent that it holds true to the adherents of religion. But here's my definition of religion. Religion is a creation of man to escape an encounter with the Lord Jesus. Christianity, on the other hand, is a way of life, more than a religion, if you like. This can only be experienced on a personal level and not by proxy. I do not subscribe to a special day to be accorded to traditional religion. We won't be able to handle the confusion, my brother Newton says. And JJ is on the phone. He has said countless times that he is a practitioner of the African traditional religion. Hello, JJ. Good evening.
Sam, answering your question, I will say yes.
Okay.
And 3 years for that matter.
Tell me why.
How did we even get to study Islamic and the Christian religion in our school when the one they met here is being neglected to the background? And at the time, you dare not even mention it. And I like the boldness right now that is on. People don't even hide anymore. You see, Sam, it is when I get to Port Harcourt here that traditional religious practitioners hide. I don't know. They just go to church, some go to mosque, and when they want to fill form, they tell you, I'm a Christian and all those. If you go to a typical Delta community, boy, they know everybody. Oh. If you come and say, I'm looking for Sam, the first question they will ask you, is that Sam that worship Igbe, or that Sam that worship Umaluku, or most of this stuff, they ask you based on your religious practice. When I came here, they were like, oh, I'm looking for Sam. They said, what type of car does Sam drive? Which church should they go? So, for me, I think we need to bring it back because that's our way of life. That's our culture.
Okay, JJ.
So, not teaching it is like we're neglecting our root, and it's not a good one. Because
all right.
According to Bob Marley.
So, very quickly.
If you don't know, hello?
Very quickly, JJ, because I have to take other calls. Firstly, if you're looking for Sam is definitely a Christian because that name is from the Bible. Secondly, which of the religions will be taught? Because there are so many. So if this is implemented, which one?
There may be too many, but the worship pattern are the same. What do you do? You pour libation, you do incantation. Almost everybody do the same thing. So what you need to do is to just take the oversight of it and just run it. What is it that you want to do? You want to tell people that most of the times we do sacrifice? Fine. You want to say we use kai? Fine. People use olive oil. People use all sorts of things. So the more they are speaking in tongues, we are doing incantation. Equal.
Okay. All right. Precious from HA. Oh my, I lost that call. Precious, call back if you can. Let's see. Lots of messages here. Dom says, good evening. My question is, where will the curriculum be drawn? Comrade Dom, Wokike. Yeah, I think that's the easiest of questions. It won't be very hard to figure that out. And Melody simply says, hi. Hi to you too. Mr. Sam, it's a no-no for me. We already have too many religions we're practicing, and it's confusing us. And they want us to implement another one. Please, they should take a chill pill. Frank says from Owerri. Stephen says, traditional religion is a worship that has to do with holiness, purity, equity, truthfulness. Any person that does traditional religion is a person of good conscience. I have many books about the religion. I'm an honest person. Yeah, Stephen, I imagine those who practice other religions are not honest. Somehow they just happen to be what's on the other side of all that you've listed. Mufasa calls from NTA Road. Good evening, Mufasa. You are back.
Yeah, good evening once again. That last time we were, so much in a hurry because of the commercial break.
But Sam, it was enough time now to express what you want to. What is that thing you want to say now?
Okay, good. You were asking which of the traditional practice, if you want to teach in school, which of the practice that you would choose?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, I know that different culture, different geographical area in this country, they have their own peculiarity in terms of their traditional practice.
Yeah.
And if you want to introduce that to the curriculum, it has to be in tandem with the traditional practice of that particular area. Let's say, for instance, in the South, they have their own traditional practice and they have the ways and methods they use to communicate with their gods and their activities. So these are the things that will be taught in the schools. It has to. It is not as if it will be imposed on the student, but you just need to know your tradition. It is very, very important.
Yeah, but Mufasa, even in some regions, right? Even in the southern region, this is the Niger Delta, it's the south. You still have a multiplicity of religions, sometimes even in one state. So if you're saying the common one in an area, and then that area tells you we have 12, what do you do?
No. Like places where they have Shango, they have Ogun, they have Orumila, they have Amadioha. They have a whole lot of them. They are people who are vast with the knowledge of these deities, and they know how to reach out to these deities. It's like I told you, they have a Department of Religious and Cultural Studies in the University of Port Harcourt, and these are the part of the things that that is being taught in that department.
Okay.
We have lecturers in that department who are deep, who are even chief priests. So there are ways you can streamline these things. It will be very, very good, okay, honestly speaking.
All right. A lecturer that is deep and a chief priest. In other words, Professor Ezemwo. Okay. Ezekiel from Ubimini, good evening.
Good afternoon, SOP.
Good afternoon. Please go ahead.
I think this is my religion. As a traditionalist, I have been thinking, contemplating on how the traditional people will be recognized in the spheres of governance, but does not have anywhere, any place to be recognized in the system of worshiping. In terms of curriculum, I believe every curriculum began in one moment or one day or one time. There are some persons as of now still introducing courses, subjects into another field of learning. So this traditional religion should also be considered, so that we, the traditionalists, we have where to upgrade our talent and our standing in the educational sector. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Sotonye calls from Choba. I've lost that call. Azunda. Okay, call back if you can. Let's go over to Facebook. Stanley Rentals simply says, good evening. I've taken this comment from Newton Ikire on WhatsApp. And Orlando Christopher says, how would this benefit us? Kelly's Promise re-echoes the position of some previous callers. Says in Uniports, they have religious and cultural studies. African traditional religion is being taught there. Well, that's a tertiary institution. The traditionalists are looking at primary and secondary. Ngwakwe Azubike promised it should be taught so that we all know our root. Okay, so you don't know your root. That's interesting. I'll be taking calls shortly. Let's do justice to WhatsApp. Hector says, does Africa have generally accepted religious practice like the Western religion, like Christianity and Islam, where they use the Bible and Quran for guidance? What would the traditional religion use? Because even in the different tribes and communities we come from, we have different beliefs and practices. Amanijo, Kalabari, precisely. We don't have Amadiowo. We have ours, even in the community I come from. They have different things they believe. And Bible is used for CRK, while Quran is used for IRK. That's from Hector. Yeah, that's the exact question. Kelechi calls from Owerri. Hello, Kelechi. Good evening.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
I want to make my little opinion or suggestion.
Make it, my brother, make it.
Whenever a society loses identity, it is a very big calamity. Understanding the people we are is not a problem. I don't because I can read. I listen from you what you said for your testimony. Someone said that what is going to be the benefit of us having traditional religion integrated in our educational system.
That's right.
I know it's not going to be an easy thing, but I know that it's going to be a very big, wide, transparent understanding that will make us to understand ourselves much more better. The king, the Igwes, the Elves, the Obas will come together geopolitically or by location, build up their own curriculum. Every tribe, every micro ethnicity has what they have distinct on the sense of spirituality. Those are where they are going to build their curriculum. You understand? And if we do not integrate this in our system, even we have exhausted the Bible, we have exhausted the Quran, and yet things are not working normal. Let us go back to the roots. I believe this we will understand where we are coming from, and we are going to understand ourselves better. I think that's the best I can say about this.
All right. Well, thanks for what you've said. I would obviously disagree with your last statement. We have not exhausted the Bible or the Quran. Those who practice the corresponding religions will tell you that their spiritual texts serve as a guidance, a manual, right? The same way you can't exhaust a country's constitution. You have to refer to it at every turn when there's need. So saying that you've exhausted Bible and Quran, it's completely inaccurate. But yeah, I get your point. Chioma Valentine says, is that a problem in this country? Can they just face the thing troubling people in Nigeria and not waste time on things that don't matter? Besides, cultural arts are taught in various schools. So what more do they want? Chioma is asking. And I feel like Chioma is angry. Ajiri Oyibo says it cannot be possible as much as we have many gods spread across the nation. Okay. Godfrey Francis, and these comments are on Facebook, says, yes, our fathers lived better with this religion. Things fell apart when the white man brought his own religion. Okay. Taino, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, calls from Rumokrushi. Hello? Good evening.
Hello, Chinedu. Good evening.
How do you pronounce your name?
Taino.
Taino. Okay. Go ahead, Taino.
Yes. Yeah, you see, first and foremost, I'm a Christian.
Okay.
But there is some kind of misunderstanding about this traditional religion. Because I know that my great-grandfather was a traditional religion practice.
Okay.
You see, one thing people misunderstand about them is that they think they worship idols. No. it's not that they really worship idols. Though I'm speaking from where I'm coming from. I'm from the southeast.
Okay.
You understand? You see, they believe in the one and only true God in heaven. But then they don't believe in Jesus Christ. They believe in these other smaller gods, like you say Amadioha, Kamanos also, and all the rest of them. I remember when my great grandfather, when he used to liberate and all that thing.
Okay.
You see,
so let's get to your point sooner, and hopefully get a question to I beg your pardon, an answer to my question. Do you think traditional religion should be taught in schools?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
It should be taught.
All right. Thank you very much. Taino says it should be taught. Says there's a misconception. Well, the thing is, the beauty of this conversation is that I'm an observer. I'm just looking to listen. My thoughts are not necessary or required. But I also have reservations about the way religious studies is handled at this time. Whether or not there is a call for traditionalists to have their religious studies studied in schools. I know that for a lot of people, or maybe a few persons, religion has a personal touch to it, right? It is based on an experience, which means that nobody can serve your God for you. While there are laid down principles, there are laws, policies, things that you need to do. For example, we are currently in the Ramadan season for the Muslims, which fasting has a lot to do with. So it is based on experience, but there are principles that you will follow. At a particular time, there are things you need to do. At some other times, people believe in pilgrimage. You have to travel to the Holy Land to go and experience firsthand some of the things you've been taught in your own scripture. So all of these things, they have ways that they impact people. But what I will say, and this comes from my personal experience, my encounter, and everything that I believe in, is that if religion, let me not use the word religion, if your spiritual experience is not personalized, I think this conversation might not even be necessary. Whether you are taught in school, in church, in mosque, anywhere, if you cannot personalize it, if it cannot become an experience for you, then there might be no point. Azunda calls from Mboshimini. Good evening, Azunda.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I think for me, hello.
I can hear you. For you.
Yeah, I would say they should not give approval to that.
Okay.
Like what they just said, although I spent part of my primary, secondary school in Delta State, so I saw some of those things. They even have signboards in front of their compound and their level of where they belong to and all that. But I think for me, that is not what Nigeria, the problem we are having now.
Okay.
They should say the main issue. Nigerians are suffering.
All right.
That is not important for now.
Okay.
That is my suggestion.
Thank you very much, Azunda. Your suggestion is taken. Let me see. Do I have more comments on Facebook? All right. The traditional religion should be taught in schools. In which ways? In the way of Amadioha or in the way of Shango? Okay, he's asking. Marley is asking. Well, that's the question I've been asking, my dear. And, well, they say there's a way to harmonize it. That there's a way around it. Do not bother thyself. I'll take one more call and wrap up this conversation. Let me see. I need the perfect song to wrap up this conversation. Citizen Cope, let the drummer kick. It's a song that lyrically doesn't make a lot of sense, but the words in the song just rhyme because they can. So you're going to listen to a couple of rhymes for a few minutes after I speak with Austin, who's my final caller. Good evening, Austin.
Yeah, good afternoon, good evening.
Good evening. Please go ahead.
Yes, I'm Austin Amadi, I'm calling from Port Harcourt.
All right.
Yes, traditional should be taught in secondary school.
Okay.
I have a reason, and my reason is this. Because now there's something like Christianity, especially according to the white, we are practicing our traditional ways. We know how to identify ourselves in every kind of tradition. But the white men have come their own tradition. The Christianity we are today is not our tradition. So we should educate spiritual life, because in this tradition we also have our own spiritual life, identity, ways of life. Because we the Christians, we are the Christians actually, but we Christians we lie a lot. We lie a lot. So in tradition, you don't lie. You don't lie.
Wow.
So you should be taught. And we need to have different deities. So everybody should touch on their way of their own deities.
Okay. All right.
So perhaps in the school maybe what do you call it? Some countries like Buddhism, Judaism, other countries, look like Christian, the practice and the practice their own tradition.
All right, Austin. It wasn't quite clear towards the end of that call. Your thoughts have been taken. I don't know where you got what you got, but there is no religion where people don't lie. Lying is a human trait. People train themselves not to. Citizen Cope, let the drama kick. After that, we take a break, and coming up at 5 is a news update. Stay with us.